This is what juxtaposition is all about. It takes on its own life. The frequency takes on its own life. The illusion takes on its own life. And if that life is not functioning correctly, then the frequency becomes more and more distorted as that being, ages in this life until the homogenization is complete. It's about the frequency of the illusion, and the frequency of the illusion is what Maya is all about. Human design is the mechanics of the Maya. And the mechanics of the Maya are very simple. The mechanics say, look, the only way in which you are going to be able to, survive on this plane is that you have to tune this frequency of yours to what is correct for you. It's not about you tune your frequency to somebody else, because that's what people do. This is homogenization. It's not that your frequency is indistinguishable from anyone else's. This is homogenization. And as long as you're operating out of the mental plane, as long as you're trying to direct your life that way, then you're not going to gain access to what is actually being emitted by the color frequency. Just sort of, you never get access to it. The average human being, most human beings, they don't truly get access to what is there within them, to the potential that is there within them, never get to live this life through that potential. And it isn't about there's something wrong with the color, there's something wrong with you. It's not the color. It's the frequency. It's the magic of what strategy and authority is all about. It is its magic. Its magic is that the moment that the vehicle takes control of the decision-making process, what it's doing is changing the frequency. I talk about how when you're operating correctly, you begin to eliminate resistance. Everything about the way in which your frequency, the illusion operates, becomes more and more refined as you operate correctly. And the moment that you're operating according to your strategy and authority, you're instantaneously gaining access to the cognitive powers that are there on the design side, not on the personality side, but on the design side. After all, the moment you enter into strategy and authority, the thing that is going to react the first and the deepest is your form. And it reacts in that sense through what we see through the design principle. That decision that you make as a manifestor, projector, generator, reflector. Those decisions become imbued with the cognitive potential that is there. You gain access to it. And it means that your frequency is beginning to adjust. It is beginning to adjust to what is necessary in order to be able to manifest you, your uniqueness. Let's think about color on the design side and what it means to have access to that. The first thing is that you get the tonal value. That is, you get the cognitive value that we've talked about. But it's more than that. Color just isn't a messenger in a sense. It is a messenger of tonal architecture, but it's a messenger of the tonal architecture that brings a way in which that whole movement from tone to line can truly be refined and be refined within the biological context. When we look at the relationship of color to tone, here's a perfect place for me to move you to the next illustration. And in this illustration, what you're looking at is it's just a chart that I drew up for one of the classes that I was teaching recently. And it was just, a chart of the day. So obviously it's one that is quite recent in that sense. I'm putting this up so that you can see it in the AI context, that is Maya Mechanics Advanced Imaging. This is a specialized graphing program in human design that is part of the tools of primary health system practitioners and rave psychologists, and contains an enormous amount of visual graphic data that makes it quite different in terms of the way the database is revealed as to the traditional chart that most people in human design work with. One of the things you'll note here, and it's illustrated for you, is that you'll note the color symbols. Color is always seen as a symbol that has 6 sides. And if you look at the color symbols, you'll see these color symbols on either side, the design side, the personality side. Let's move over to the design side. And when you're looking at the design side and you're looking at the sun, earth, and you're looking at the color, the sun, earth on the design side represents the way in which our brain functions. It is its primary value to us, is in understanding the nature of the physical brain. I'm not talking about mind now. I am talking about the physical brain and the quality of, or the way in which that physical brain can not only be different, in other words, to understand mechanically the way it's intended to operate efficiently, and as well as seeing through color the way in which the brain and obviously the body system through it can be nurtured correctly. In other words, the relationship between tone and color for the design sun earth determines what dietary regimen is correct for you. And as a result of that dietary regimen, what sensory value in you is going to be enhanced in that process. I mean, one of the most important doctrines in human design is the 4 transformations that are possible after one has entered into the process of following one's strategy and authority, the catalyst. And these can be seen via these 4 arrows that you can see on either side of the head here in the illustration. These 4 arrows together make up something that is called variable. And variable is a way in which we can see the transformations necessary for any particular person, once they've entered into their strategy and authority, truly to be able to fulfill the whole transformation process in their life. It begins with what color is captured by the monopole relative to that design sun earth. If the being is not correct, they are not going to be able to nurture their brain system and thus their body system in a way that is going to benefit the differentiation. Please understand, the deepest conditioning in life is food. And it started from the moment that you came into the world. And every human being has a differentiated way in which food is a part of their life, differentiated way. And it's not about, again, what kind of food, good food, bad food, this food, that food. It is about conditions and circumstances relative to the illusion and how the illusion takes in the nutrition. As an example, my color and tone lead me to be a circumstance person. In other words, nutrition for me, taking food into my system, is determined by the circumstances around me when I'm taking in that nutrition. And in my case, because of my tone, that place or that circumstance for me is one that needs to be calm. This is the way it works. So it doesn't matter whether I'm, eating the finest food or roadkill. If I'm calm, everything's okay, and my system is going to be able to take precisely what it needs for me, to differentiate those values in me, to take the nutrition from the food and provide it to specifically those areas within me that require it in order for me to differentiate. Most human beings, because they do not eat correctly, they're constantly homogenizing their system. Constantly homogenizing their system. And of course, in order for the mind ultimately to be clear, to work well, the brain has to be efficient. And when I talk about brain, please understand, the brain is responsible for all the biological functions that are going to take place in your body. It's a command post. If the brain doesn't operate efficiently, if the brain is not healthy in the way in which, it supports, its neurotransmitters and the hormones and the pheromones and the this and the that, you got a problem. So one of the things to begin to understand about color is that color is the messenger of transformation at every level, and that you only get the message when you're correct. You only get the message when you can capture the frequency. And you can only capture the frequency when your frequency is correct. Think about the nature of color in the nodes, the design nodes. The design nodes are quite something. The transformation of environment. Not only are we here to take food in under certain conditions or circumstances, but we're also here to spend the majority of our life in certain kinds of environments. For example, I am somebody who is a shore person. And I'm a shore person, and I'm here to be on natural shores as opposed to unnatural shores or artificial shores. As long as I'm near the shores, the natural shores, I'm living in an environment that's nurturing me. And it is the color that determines what value in that environment, whether it's going to be natural or whether it's going to be artificial, that is suitable to my vehicle to enhance my movement in this life. But not only that, the relationship between the tone and the color at the nodal level also determines the way in which the body is going to interact with others, because it's on the nodal line that you meet the other. And whether your physical vehicle, how it is going to respond to being with the other. All of that's in the color. So just think about it for a moment. If you're not operating correctly and you don't have control over the quality of the frequency of your form, you're not getting the nutrition that you need to sustain what is the most important activities in your biology. Quite something to think about. And you're not in the right place. And you're not nurturing your form. And all of that is because the capturing of the color is not correct. See, color is the messenger. But only you, can truly receive that. I mean, this is the dilemma in all of these things, Everybody who's grown up in the homogenized world is used to having people tell them what to do. They're used to following along in a track. They're used to all getting down on their knees at the same time. They're used to doing all of these things together. You can't do this with anybody else. You do this within yourself, for yourself. There is no other way. It is one of the things that makes it so difficult to go beyond strategy and authority, to really take the full journey, because there is a huge journey here. That journey to awareness, to the display of real outer authority, to complete mastery of what it is to live on this plane, the ease, the signature that comes with that. It's you. The beauty of what we have is that because the mechanics is there, we can see the steps. There are techniques. All the knowledge that we have about dietary regimen, environment, these are things that are part of the primary health system department of the Center for Human Differentiation. Those beings that have entered into their strategy and authority, we do have the support mechanism that's there to really be able to understand what are the requirements for your transformation that are written in the message of the color. And it is all about taking it in. It's not about looking for it and, it's not about thinking that you got to chase after it somewhere. It's in you. It's always been in you. It's just there. It's like having one of those cheap little radios in the 50s, and you can only get one station and there's 800 around it, This is most human beings today. It's all there. In every being, at every level. You cannot understand another person. You cannot understand life on this plane by what you see. Because you see homogenization. Any truth that you're going to learn in this life, you have to learn within yourself. It's not about what anybody says. It's not about what I say. It is about the experience that creates awareness. And it's only in the experience that the awareness comes. There is a huge difference in your life when you follow your dietary regimen. There's a huge difference in your life when you are environmentally correct, because it automatically establishes what color brings to the personality nodes: perspective, view, the way of seeing that is absolutely correct for you, and it is your color. Not only is your color there to provide you with the message of what is the right perspective, but it's color and it transfers. At the nodal level, we call it distraction. So if you're not correct and you're not operating according to your strategy and authority, and you're making decisions with your mind, instead of having the perspective you're supposed to have, you get the harmonic, you get distracted by what you're not. You know, two of the very interesting views of the 6 views are a harmonic: possibility and probability. Eh? Some people have a way of looking at the world where they see the possibilities. Some people have a way of looking at the world where they see the probabilities. Unfortunately, they're always distracted by the other because they're not self. And the person that's supposed to see possibilities thinks that they see probabilities. And the person who is supposed to see probabilities thinks that all of those are possibilities. They get very, very confused. And because of what they see is confusing, the way their mind, the sun earth, is going to conceptualize with a motivation that isn't correct. I mean, think about how fucked up people are. I mean, think about it. You're looking out of eyes that don't see the way they're supposed to see. They're distracted. That distraction gives your mind what it conceptualizes. Your mind conceptualizes based on its motivation, but the mind doesn't have the correct motivation. So you've got a mind without the correct motivation, thinking about something that it's not supposed to be looking at. Well, aren't you an intelligent crew? Isn't that the nature of the world? I mean, color is really something that is astonishing. I mean, at every level, at every level. Because wherever you look in color, you see the keys. These are the keys to transformation. It is color in so many ways that simply lays out what is required of any individual that wants to actually live its uniqueness. To live it. I mean, I am a neo-narcissist. I am an anti-socialist. It is what I represent. I represent knowledge that is here for one person at a time, period. Nothing else. Because this is the story. It is so easy to homogenize people and make them all alike. I'd be a billionaire by now. It is so easy to homogenize them, so easy. But to break through all of that, to shatter it, I see, I've been at this 21 years. The depth, the long, long fingers of conditioning. Haven't we been through nothing but a conditioning movie, all of these classes? One layer after another of conditioning. It doesn't matter where it is, whether you're awake, whether you're asleep, whether it's from the program, whether it's from somebody else, it's everywhere. It is the nature of the Maya. But you do not have to be lost in it. You don't. You don't have to be lost in it at all. See, this is what it always comes down to. Every single level of the knowledge that I teach, it doesn't matter what it is. It's always going to come back to the same place. It has to come back to the same place because this is where everything starts. You want access to what that color is emitting. There's a program, and you have to deal with it. And you have to surrender here. here. Oh, how the mind drives you crazy, doesn't it? How many things the mind is telling you to do every day. How many things it wants to do every day. Would like to do, could do, might do, will insist on doing. How many things it worries about, how many things it's concerned about, how many things it's afraid of. How many things it's always pulling out of memory that torment the consciousness. Oh, the mind, on and on and on, running your life. You see, when you look at a package, when you look at this design here, this design was not meant to run on mind. It's not. We are not meant to run on mind. We are not meant to be dictated to by mind. We are not. I mean, I am a heretic after all. This is as heretical as anything has ever been. And it is not just simply a question of saying, well, mind isn't particularly this or that, and let's fix it. All the seven-centered teachers just wanted to fix it. You don't fix it. You take away its power to distort your life. You take away its power. And you take away its power by not allowing it to dictate what you are going to do. See, this is what it means to wake up. You know, people are always looking for some kind of exalted spiritual blah, blah, blah about all this stuff. Shit, the moment that you stop using your mind to run your life, hey, that's waking up. And then you get to see what's there. You can begin to grow up with a new awareness. Because once you begin to see and live the mechanics at the same time, it begins to transform the way in which you look at the world. You begin to align to a frequency that is correct for you. It's all up here. Everything else is easy. It is. You know, but this mind is so caught up in its fears. How cruel the not self is, how cruel those open centers are. Constantly punishing you, constantly making you feel like there's something that you should have that you don't have and you're gonna get it. And all those reflex actions that you take based on all of the conditioning of your past. Oh, I know how deep conditioning is. I know. But so, there's a way out. You know, it's not like I'm going to feel sorry for you. It's not like there's no way. It's not like you're trapped in an abyss. You're not. There is a way out. There's your way out. You know, nobody's going to reach down and take your hand. You don't want it. You don't need it. You have to live in this life by what is correct for you, by your authority. If your authority embraces the other, wonderful. If your authority embraces anything, good for you. But it has to be your authority, nothing else. And it cannot come from your mind. Because your mind has never known what's good for you, will never know what's good for you, is incapable of knowing what's good for you. It will lie to you and seduce you and fool you. It will enmesh you in all kinds of nonsense. And it will just load up all kinds of suffering in your life. You can see people who live in their minds and in the pain of their minds. They're all around us. They're everywhere you look, young, old, doesn't make any difference. After all, it's the way in which this construct seems to work that we experience it through the mental plane. It's what gives the mind such enormous power. It's why the distorted mind rules the world. But there is a way out of that. And it's not difficult, after all, is it? The strategy of the types, something that is incredibly simple, very straightforward, very basic. Don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. And after all, it's an experiment. You can try it, can't you? You can find out for yourself. What is so difficult about responding? I still have never figured out generators. What the fuck is their problem? You know? It's so easy to respond. I mean, generators are the luckiest beings on the planet. Everything is there for them. Everything is there for them. All they have to do is respond. The moment that things come at them, everything for them is perfect. So why can't they wait? Why do they have to chase after everything? Mess everything up? This is what they do. This is what they've done forever. Running around trying to make things happen. And you know, I've been telling them for 21 years. Oh, the mind is quite a thing. It doesn't matter how beautiful and exquisite the truth may be. The mind is able to ignore all truths. It's very easy. It does it all the time. There are more human beings on this planet who are embracing lies as their great truth than you even want to imagine. By the billions, by the billions. See, knowledge is very sweet. I like it. Intellectually stimulating. It's fascinating. All that stuff. But this life is to be lived. Not in want. Not in hope that there may or may not be this or that. It's not to be lived in dreams. It's to be lived in the flesh. In the perfection of what it is to be a passenger in one of these vehicles. I am a passenger. When you surrender at the mental level, you begin to, you begin your journey. This is the journey. The journey of awareness. It is what we are here for. Everything else is just stimulation. What I call entertainment. Entertainment to stimulate the awareness. It's the experience of being, the experience of existence, and it doesn't have to be a horror. It doesn't. It is the beauty of finally having the right frequency, being tuned. Is that you begin to be in harmony with the world around you. You begin to see through the veil that this is not just simply a place of horror and ugliness, but there is great beauty on this plane. There is great things here for us to experience in this life. Aware. The bonds that are there for us, love, friendship, all of these things, but aware. After all, the great gift of the aware human being is what they can share with the other, their outer authority, where mind finally has its place. What you get from me, my outer authority for you. It is the only time that my mind is of any value to me. Because at the moment that my mind stops doing this and stops doing my outer authority trip, it's back to being mind. It's back to always dreaming that maybe it can get its authority back on the inside. You know, mind is mind is mind is mind. It's been so long for me that, it's just kind of part of the entertainment. But it's something to grasp about how powerful it is. It is something to grasp that this is the only thing that stands between you and the transformation of your life. It's your mind and how you use it. and whether you allow it to dictate your life or not. And then the magic of color, tone, bass, the magic of you, unique, differentiated. This is something that can then emerge. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Did all of this in quite a storm. I don't know if you caught any of that, but it added a certain drama to the day. I rather liked it. Anyway, you take care. Until next time, bye for now.